Valérie Dekimpe from Down to Earth joins me on the set. Hey, Valérie, good to see you. This year on World Water Day, the UN is putting the spotlight on groundwater, which is actually crucial to our survival, but we often take it for granted.
We do, because it's a natural resource that is poorly understood. We don't see it. It's deep below the surface and aquifers and rocks and the soil, but it makes up about 99% of all liquid fresh water supplies on Earth, 50% of all drinking water. Now, the assessment being made by scientists isn't that bleak. I know that you're used to having me on set talking about the climate crisis. Well, when it comes to groundwater, things aren't that bad. Because we know that there are vast reserves of groundwater right under our feet, about 16 million cubic kilometers of water. The problem, though, is that we are overexploiting groundwater reserves. This is what scientists call the depletion rate. So the gap between the amount of water that we are pumping out of groundwater and the amount of water, mostly rainfall, that infiltrates into the ground and replenishes the water table. So this gap has reached 100 to 200 cubic kilometers. So essentially, we are pumping more water than the aquifer can actually handle. The level of depletion, according to that report that you mentioned, is considerable, according to the UN. We have a map. I have a map here that I want to show you. The yellow, the orange, and red areas essentially representing parts of the world where the rate of depletion is high. The red representing parts of the world where it's reached a dangerous threshold, so mainly the Arabian Peninsula, also Libya, the north of India, northern China, but also California. So essentially, we are overdrafting our groundwater supplies to grow food for the mining sector, the farming sector as well, but also to manufacture, the pair of jeans that you and I are probably wearing. So as a result, we know that 70% of groundwater reserves are being used for the farming sector, and that also means more pollution, pesticides, fertilizers seeping into the soil.
Yeah, and those numbers may not seem like a lot, centimeters per year, but as you mentioned, it's hundreds of cubic meters and kilometers.
And it's a long term,
absolutely. Well, Valérie, as part of your reporting for Down to Earth, you've been looking at efforts to use water from abandoned coal mines to generate energy. Tell us more.
Yeah, that's correct. So we recently traveled to the United Kingdom, where there are about 23,000 abandoned coal mines. They closed progressively from the 60s all the way to the 90s. And back in the day, when the mines were operating, miners had to essentially pump water out constantly. So what happens today, after they have been abandoned, is that you have groundwater filling up the old coal mines. So 2 billion cubic meters of mine water are believed to be occupying old mines in the United Kingdom. So we went to visit a mine water treatment center, as you can see behind me, with mine water. So the water is being pumped out of the mines. It's red. It's this kind of red-orange color because it's full of pollutants, of iron and other heavy metals. And so the water is being treated to remove that iron. More than 4,000 tons every single year being removed from the water. So the Coal Authority in the United Kingdom is operating more than 70 sites like this one across the country. And the reason is that they need to protect the environment and the drinking water aquifer. So in the sites that we visited, if you don't do that, essentially it could pollute a groundwater aquifer. Now, the story doesn't end there, though. It gets more interesting. The water found in the mines is actually warm, and so there are several projects underway across the country to actually use that mine water to generate heat and heat homes in those different areas. And people in the area are quite proud of how the former mining heritage of this area is now being used for the green, clean energy revolution. We met with the Coal Authority there in the United Kingdom, and this is what they had to say. Take a listen.
The northeast of England really is one of the hotbeds, if you excuse the pun, for the mine heat agenda. And it'll help really bring the circle together from people that remembered mining underground to now supplying heat to their homes from the very infrastructure they carved out with their own hands not so long ago.
So this episode with Team of Down to Earth will come out soon, so stay tuned to learn all about mine water and geothermal energy.
Fascinating stuff, Valérie Dekimpe. Thank you very much.
Thanks.